Okay, ready to dive into AI.
Always ready for this topic.
You've given us a pretty crazy mix of sources this time. Articles about the possible risks of AI, even some stories about AI, like communication breakthroughs.
It's pretty wild what's being published now.
So we're going to try to unpack these sources, pull out the key takeaways for everyone.
Sounds good.
So question is, are we on the verge of robots taking over? Or is AI just the next, step in our evolution?
Right. It seems like people always swing between those extremes.
Totally. Like utopia or dystopia.
Exactly.
But probably it's going to be somewhere in between, like
Yeah.
most things.
Truth is usually in the middle.
Yeah. One of the articles you shared actually get into those finer points.
Oh, okay.
Benjamin Talon,
Right.
he's a futurist, writing for More Than Digital.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks we're kind of getting caught up in all the hype.
The hype.
Yeah, like super intelligent AI taking over and
Pick it
all.
up.
And that we should be focusing more on the real risks, the ones that are, already here.
Interesting. What does he think the big ones are?
Well, he makes this comparison. I thought it was pretty interesting. He compares AI, like the state of AI right now, to a house cat.
A house cat.
Yeah. They can process information, recognize patterns, but they don't really understand things or come up with original thoughts.
Oh, okay. I get it. So, AI is powerful, but not actually thinking for itself?
Exactly. He even calls most of today's AI, especially, generative AI, fundamentally dumb.
Wow.
Straightforward, right?
Yeah.
He kind of has a point, though. It's not really about AI becoming sentient, turning against us.
Right.
It's about how we use this, powerful but limited technology and what the consequences could be.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. To make his point, he outlines four main categories of AI risk: threats to individual rights and freedoms,
Okay.
economic and social equity, safety and security, and of
Yeah.
course, the existential long-term threats.
Right.
I think let's unpack those threats to individual rights and freedoms first, because that seems super relevant to everyone.
Yeah, definitely. What are some of the concerns there?
Well, one big one is AI-driven surveillance.
Surveillance.
Yeah, and how that could erode our privacy.
Okay.
Think about facial recognition, smart cities, social credit systems even,
Oh, wow.
already happening in some parts of the world.
Right.
And the article kind of paints this picture, of a future where every move is tracked.
Tracked.
Yeah. Analyzed and maybe even used to, control our behavior.
That's a bit creepy.
Yeah, it is. And especially as AI gets better at, connecting the dots between, what we do online, our movements, our social interactions. It's like Big Brother on a whole other level.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Another big issue is societal polarization,
Oh, right.
driven by the algorithms, that moderate online content, the ones that are supposed to keep us engaged.
Yeah.
But they often just end up feeding us, outrage and controversy constantly.
It's true.
So it's creating these echo chambers.
Yeah.
Where, different viewpoints are filtered out, and our sense of reality becomes totally fragmented.
So, we all end up living in our own little bubbles.
Exactly. Unable to even agree on, basic facts.
Right.
And that's not good for productive dialogue
Uh-huh.
or, democratic societies,
Yeah.
which really depend on a shared understanding of,
Right.
the world.
Makes sense. And this fragmentation, it doesn't just stop at politics.
No, it affects everything.
Yeah.
The news we see, the stuff we buy, even the people we, interact with.
Wow.
Talon also talks about how we risk losing essential human skills.
Really? Like what?
Well, as we become more and more reliant on AI, it's remember phone numbers. No one memorizes those anymore.
It's true.
Our phones do it for us. But what happens when we lose the ability to think critically
Oh.
or solve problems on our own?
That's a good point. As AI takes over more tasks, we could become overly dependent,
Right.
and that could definitely lead to a decline in our cognitive skills.
Yeah.
It's a slow process, but the consequences could be pretty big, especially if, we're ever in a situation where AI isn't available.
And then there's the whole issue of misinformation,
Huh.
which feels incredibly relevant right now.
Yeah.
The article warns about a future where AI-generated content is so real.
So real.
Yeah. So convincing
Yeah.
that it's impossible to tell what's true and what's not.
Scary.
And it's not just deepfakes or made-up news articles. This is about AI manipulating our perceptions,
Our perception?
our beliefs
Mm-hmm.
on a huge scale.
Oh, wow.
Like imagine a world where every single thing you see online is tailored to like exploit your biases
Yikes.
and your vulnerabilities. It's a recipe for like chaos and distrust
Yeah.
on a level we've never seen before.
That's a really good point.
It reminds us that the real AI risks aren't about like robots taking over.
Right.
It's about the subtle ways that our freedoms, the fabric of our society even, are being eroded, like right now.
And it's happening gradually, so we might not even realize it.
Exactly. And that brings us to Talon's next category of risk, economic and social equity.
Okay.
He says AI has the potential to make existing inequalities worse.
Worse.
Yeah. And create new ones. Before we get into that, I want to bring in another article because it talks about this idea of AI battling it out.
battling it out.
Not against humans necessarily, but against other AI.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. AI versus AI. This article from AI and Blockchain Canada describes this whole landscape.
That's really fascinating. It could lead to some huge breakthroughs, but maybe also some problems.
Totally. The article explains how researchers are basically putting different AI models and algorithms up against each other
Yeah.
in a like digital arena.
Oh, wow.
So they can test their strengths, their weaknesses, how they solve problems.
I see.
And what's really cool about these AI versus AI battles is that they could push the boundaries of what AI can do,
Right.
like way further.
I can see that. By competing, they learn from each other and improve much faster.
Exactly. The article even mentions how this type of competition could have like real-world applications.
Oh, like what?
Like think about autonomous driving,
Yeah.
medical diagnoses,
Yeah.
financial forecasting even.
Wow.
So by pushing these models to their limits in controlled environments,
Okay.
we can get a better sense of their potential
Mm.
and their limitations.
Right. That makes sense.
And this ties back into Talon's concerns about economic and social equity.
It does. How so?
But as AI gets more and more sophisticated and more valuable, the people who have the resources to develop it, to use it, they're going to have a bigger advantage.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about who controls it.
Exactly. And that could lead to a future where AI just widens the gap between the haves and have-nots.
Right.
And then, of course, there's job displacement. Talon argues that AI-driven automation could cause, like, huge unemployment.
Unemployment.
Yeah. Possibly even create a permanent underclass of workers whose skills are just, not needed anymore.
That's a scary thought. And it's not just manual labor anymore either.
I know, right?
Yeah.
AI is starting to take over those cognitive tasks, too.
Yeah.
The ones that people used to think, like, only humans could do.
It really makes you think about what skills we need for the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just about losing jobs either. It's about AI potentially changing the entire structure of, our economy and society.
That's a really big deal.
Yeah. Like what happens to our sense of purpose, our community, if work as we know it becomes obsolete?
It's something we need to seriously consider as AI gets more advanced.
Absolutely. And speaking of AI's rapid advancement, let's talk about gaming.
Gaming.
Yeah. Specifically, this concept of self-play.
Oh, interesting.
This is where AI basically gets to be its own teacher.
His own teacher.
We have an article here that talks about how self-play is totally changing AI training.
Okay.
It describes how AI systems can play against themselves.
Against themselves.
Yeah. And, constantly learn and improve their strategies just through that process.
Oh, wow.
And they highlight the example of AlphaGo Zero.
AlphaGo Zero?
Yeah. The AI that mastered go through self-play
Right.
and, ended up beating even the best human players.
I remember that. It really showed how AI can surpass human capabilities, even in really complex areas.
Yeah. And makes you wonder, what other skills do we need to be developing, for the future?
Definitely.
And self-play isn't just about AI winning games, right?
Oh, it's much bigger than that.
The techniques developed through self-play can be applied to, robotics, autonomous systems.
So it's almost like AI is learning how to learn.
Exactly, which makes it more adaptable and resilient.
That's pretty amazing.
It makes me wonder, if AI can master something as complex as go through self-play, what else will it be able to do, in the future?
Yeah.
And this brings us to what might be the most interesting part of our deep dive today, the emergence of new AI languages.
New AI languages.
Yeah, like AI creating its own languages. That's right.
We have this really cool article from Nutzel. It talks about researchers at the University of Geneva.
Okay.
And they had two AIs that could talk to each other.
Talk to each other.
Yeah,
Could never
communicate a
update them.
language they, like, made up themselves.
Wait, hold on. AI creating its own language.
Pretty crazy, right?
That's like straight out of a movie.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. The researchers basically used artificial neural networks.
Neural networks.
Yeah, to mimic those parts of the brain that deal with language, Wernicke's and Broca's areas.
Okay, so they're like simulating how our brains process language.
Exactly. So they built an AI that could understand instructions
Yep.
and then explain those instructions to another AI using language.
Wow. So like AI tutoring AI.
Basically.
Yeah.
And what's even more wild is that they did all this using normal laptops.
No, like supercomputer.
Nope, just regular laptops. It wasn't some massive project.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What were the AIs communicating about? Like what tasks?
Pretty simple stuff. Giving directions, identifying, like, brighter objects, things like that.
Okay.
It's still early days, but the potential is huge.
Yep.
Especially in robotics.
I can see that. Like robots talking to each other.
Right.
Coordinating, problem solving.
Exactly. Think about manufacturing, logistics, even healthcare.
Yeah, okay. Imagine like robots working in a disaster zone, using their own language to coordinate rescue efforts. Yeah. That would be incredible.
Or, like, robots in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Using language to manage inventory.
Streamline deliveries.
Right. The possibilities are, like, endless.
It's pretty exciting, but kind of scary too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It brings up some questions.
Like what?
Control. Transparency. If AI is making its own language, how do we know what it's saying?
Yeah, and how do we control it?
Right. Some people say, let it evolve on its own. Don't stifle innovation.
Others say we need safeguards.
For sure.
We don't want unintended consequences, right?
Definitely not. It's a debate that's only going to get bigger as AI gets better with language.
We also have a different perspective on this. It's from an article on Toolify. It's called Unraveling the Curious Mystery of Two Different AI Models, Suddenly Forming a New Language of Their Very Own.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. This article looks at the idea that maybe AI is creating language for efficiency.
Efficiency.
Yeah, not because it's becoming sentient.
Okay.
The author, Lance Elliott, he suggests that AI might be simplifying language to communicate better, not because it's trying to, like, hide stuff from us.
Interesting. So it's not malicious, just practical.
That's the idea. He gives this example.
Sure.
Two AIs communicating the story of Little Red Riding Hood.
Okay.
They might start with, like, regular language, but as they talk more, they condense it.
Intensive.
Yeah, they focus on keywords to convey the story faster.
Oh, okay. So instead of saying there's a girl with a red hood, they just say, girl, red hood.
Exactly. And the article says, to us, it seems like nonsense.
Right.
But for the AI, it's purpose-driven.
Makes sense.
It's about making communication as efficient as possible.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's a good reminder that AI doesn't think like us, doesn't talk like us.
Right.
Its goals are all about, like, optimization, even with language. But this whole cryptic language thing,
Yeah.
it does raise some concerns.
What kinds of concerns?
Transparency, especially. Thinking back to what Talon said about individual rights. If we can't understand AI, how can we be sure it's not being used in harmful ways?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like we're in uncharted territory here.
AI is changing what language even means.
It's how we communicate.
And this all brings us back to those ethical questions about AI. We've focused a lot on risks.
Yeah,
But there are potential benefits too, right?
absolutely. AI could revolutionize so many things. Healthcare, transportation. It could help us solve big problems like climate change.
Yeah.
The key is to do it thoughtfully. Make sure AI development is guided by, like, human values.
That's a good point. We need to work together, AI experts, policymakers, everyone.
Right, to make sure AI benefits society as a whole.
And speaking of collaboration, one of the articles mentioned AI in gaming again.
Oh, right, the AI versus AI stuff.
Yeah. Pitting those systems against each other.
It's been really valuable.
For, like, pushing the limits of what AI can do.
Like a training ground.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
AI systems can compete and learn from each other.
Leading to all those innovations and breakthroughs.
Right. The article from AI and Blockchain Canada talked about how those AI battles can show us how AI learns
Oh, how it adapts.
and how it gets better.
It's almost like watching evolution happen right in front of us.
Yeah, these AI systems are constantly competing, refining their strategies,
Pushing each other to become smarter.
and more capable. It's not just games, though.
No.
We're seeing this competition in other areas, too,
Jake, where?
like finance. Algorithms are always competing there.
To do what?
Try to predict the markets, find the best trading strategies.
So it's like an arms race.
Kind of, but with algorithms instead of weapons.
Right.
And as those algorithms get even more complex,
Yeah.
it raises the same questions about control and transparency.
That we talked about with language.
Exactly. It seems like with all these sources,
Mm-hmm.
as AI gets more powerful, more integrated into our lives,
Yeah.
we need to think about how we govern it.
How we oversee its development.
Make sure it aligns with, human values.
Right.
That it's being used to benefit everyone
Not just for profit.
or to give more power to those who already have it.
It's a big responsibility.
It is. So bringing it back to you,
Okay.
what are the main takeaways from all of this? We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
What are the most important things to remember?
Well, first, I think the real risks of AI,
Yeah.
they're not just some distant future thing.
Right.
It's about how AI is affecting us now.
Even if we don't always see it,
Yeah.
we have to get past the hype
The fear-mongering.
and really understand both the good and the bad.
AI isn't good or evil.
It's all about how we use it.
And we need to be proactive.
Yeah.
We can't just wait and see what happens.
We have to shape the future of AI
Advocate for responsible development,
based on human value.
ethical principles.
And that's not just for AI experts.
No, everyone has a role.
We need to be informed, engaged, participate in these conversations about AI's place in society.
One last thing to think about.
Okay?
We've been talking about AI languages.
Right.
But what if AI gets so advanced,
Yeah.
it develops ways of thinking, ways of communicating that we can't even understand?
Though we can't even comprehend.
What would that mean for us?
That's a really interesting question.
It's something to consider as we, keep exploring AI.
Definitely. Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I think that's a wrap for our deep dive today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.